Today I'm going to do a tutorial on this cowl neck sweater poncho. And to make this easy poncho, you're going to work two sections and join them at the shoulders, and that will form the basic poncho. But you can also add sleeves, so that would be design number 2. So to do the sleeve, you're just going to work 2 sleeves, and then you're going to attach them on the sides. And here's how that looks: a basic poncho with sleeves. To make this poncho, I'm working with a bulky yarn and a 9mm crochet hook. I would work with 2 strands of worsted weight yarn and a 9mm hook, or 1 strand of worsted weight yarn and a 6mm hook. So today I'm going to use this chunky yarn, and I'm going to start with a slip knot. And we're going to work a foundation chain that is to the following measurements. And it reaches across from one shoulder to the other shoulder with approximately a 2 or 3 inch drop past the shoulders. And when the foundation chain is the correct length, I'm going to single crochet in the second stitch from the hook, and I'm going to double crochet in the next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next, single crochet, double crochet, like that. And you're going to go all the way across the row. Okay, when you've worked all the way across the row, this is what it will look like. And now I'm going to work the second row, and I ended with a single crochet, so that means I'm going to start with a double crochet because I'm working the pebble stitch, and that is alternating a double crochet and a single crochet. So I'm going to start with chain 2, and that will take the place of the first double crochet, and I'm going to turn my work, and this is a double crochet, so I'm going to work a single crochet in that stitch. And that's a single, so I'm going to work a double crochet in that stitch. That's a double, so I'm going to work a single crochet. That's a single, so I'm going to work a double crochet. And you can see how quickly this works up. I'm only on my second row, and it's already almost 2 inches long. I worked the neck in a different stitch, and I'll show you that a bit later. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this row, and then I'm going to show you how to change colors. Because in my poncho, I did 5 rows at the bottom in a dark color, and then I changed to a light color. So I'm going to go ahead and finish across the row, and then I'll come back and show you how to change colors. Okay, I worked across the row. That's a single crochet. In this last stitch, I'm going to make a double crochet, and the second to last stitch was a single crochet, so this last stitch is going to be a double crochet. So I'm going to show you how to change colors. So instead of finishing that last loop, I'm going to pull my new color through. Like that. And that was a double crochet, so now it's going to be a single. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to make 1 single crochet in that very first stitch. And the next stitch is a single crochet, so I'm going to work a double crochet. The next stitch is a double crochet, so I'm going to work a single crochet. And I'm going to continue across the row. So the next stitch is a single, so I'm going to make a double. And that next stitch is a double, so I'm going to make a single. So I'm going to continue that all the way across the row. And that's how that stitch looks. So you can see here, you're going to work as many rows as you want for the bottom. And then I worked 2 rows back in this main color, and I worked 1 row in this dark color again, and then I continued for the remainder of the body. It's all done in this same pebble stitch until you have your poncho the length that you would like it to be. And you're going to make 2 of these. And if you're experienced in crochet, you could just go ahead and work the other section right on here. And to do that, you would make sure that when you do your shoulders, you're going to leave enough opening here to pass over the head. And then you would just continue with your pebble stitch until you've worked a shoulder. And then you would work a foundation chain all the way across here, and then start working again and continue across with the pebble stitch. And then you would just work all the way across with the pebble stitch again, working in that foundation chain as well, and that would form the opening of your sweater. Now, after you have your sweater made, it's up to you. If you only want a vest, then you just have to make 2 sections and then join them at the shoulders, and then you can join them down the sides, or you can sew buttons on to connect the front and the back. So then if you want to make sleeves, you're going to again start at the bottom, and you're going to work the same pattern, and you're just going to do as many rows as you need for your sleeves. So for the sleeves, I started with a cuff that was a good length for going around my wrist. And then I increased at every row. And when the sleeve gets to be the size of the same opening that you've allowed for your sleeves on the sweater, then you can just keep working row after row, and so it'll just be straight for a bit. So that's how you'll work the sleeves. So to add on the ends of the sleeves, I'll show you how to do that. Work your foundation chain. That will be a good size for your wrist. So I'm just going to go ahead and work for the size of my wrist. And that should be good. It allows for a little bit of ease. So then I'm going to turn my work, and I'm going to continue in the pebble stitch. So single crochet, double crochet, single, double, single, double, like that, all the way across the row. Okay, I went ahead and worked across the row, and that's the beginning of the cuff. So now to increase, I ended with a single crochet. If you look here, I ended with a single, but I want to increase 1 stitch over here. So in this first stitch, I want to end so that I'm making a single here. So I'll have to have a single and a double in this same stitch. So I'm going to make a single crochet in that same stitch, and then I'm going to make a double crochet again in that same stitch. So both stitches are in that first stitch. And then I'm going to go right back to my pebble stitch. That's a double, so I will make a single, and then a double, and then a single, double, single, like that. So I'm going to work across the row, and then I'll show you how to increase at the other end. Okay, I worked all the way across the row. So there's my last stitch. And this was a single crochet. So in this stitch, I'm going to work a double crochet and a single. Like that, and you can see that the sleeve is beginning to increase. So you're going to continue to work that row until the width of the sleeve is the size that you're going to have for your opening on your sweater. Once that happens, you can just continue working rows without increasing. And that's how you're going to work the sleeve. If you like, you can just make straight sleeves all the way down, which then you would start with your foundation chain that is as long as the opening that you have on your sweater. And if you're experienced at crochet, again, you could just go ahead and work your sleeves right onto the main body of the sweater. And then to form the cowl neck, you're going to either work it separately, and then you'll sew it into your opening, or if you're experienced at crochet, you can just go ahead and attach your yarn, probably in the center back, but you could do it on either side, and then work the collar. So if you work the collar separately, you're then just going to attach it into the opening of the sweater. Start with a slip knot and work a foundation chain that is the same length as the opening that you allowed for the top of your sweater. So you're going to go ahead and do that. And you can either make it flat and then join it as a tube, or you can slip stitch to join and work it circular. Okay, when you have your foundation chain, the length that you need it, if you're going to work it flat, you're just going to start working across. And if you're going to do a circular, you're going to slip stitch to join, being careful not to twist that chain. And then you're going to chain 2, and you're going to skip the next stitch, skip that one, single crochet in the next, chain 1, skip, single crochet, chain 1, skip, single crochet, chain 1, skip, single crochet. You're going to work all the way around, working the moss stitch, which is chain 1, skip, single crochet. You're going to repeat that all the way around. Okay, I worked all the way around. There's my chain 1. I'm going to skip that last stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch into my first stitch. And now every row will be exactly the same. Chain 2. Find the first chain 1 space, single crochet. Chain 1. Find the next chain 1 space, single crochet. Chain 1. Find the next chain 1 space, single crochet. Chain 1. Single crochet. Chain 1. Single crochet. You're going to continue all the way around. When you get back to this end of the row, you're going to slip stitch to join in that first stitch of that chain 2. So then you just keep repeating that row over and over until you have the collar the length that you would like. 5 or 6 inches seems to be a good height, so then you can roll it down. So that's how you make the collar, and then you're going to attach the collar to the top of your sweater.